Listen here, you dang kids. Welcome to HowDoWeHuman. This is the podcast where we talk about all the weird and uncomfortable micro moments in life. I'm one of your hosts, Chris Binning.
I'm one of your hosts, Evan Cox, and I knew that was coming, but it still made me happy.
Have I become so predictable? Evan knows that when we do an episode about the elderly, I'm gonna do a weird impression of old people.
Listen, in that world, we have merged into the same person, and we have an opportunity to do a silly voice. Get ready.
Something else that I want to get ready for is hearing about your life, Evan.
Oh,
so how you doing?
Okay, interesting. I wasn't ready for that question, but
I've only asked it 295 times.
Once a week.
Yeah.
It's getting to be a bit much. Lay off. Yeah, I'm doing okay. I'm about to talk about something that I will be talking about in the episode, but this part of it does not relate to the elderly. I mentioned wanting to do an episode about this in the past, and you're like, I've never been to one. I have no experience with this. And that is estate sales. I briefly became very into estate sales, keeping an eye on them. I still have the app on my phone. I missed a good sale on some speakers, and I'm very sad about it. Anyways, originally, I was just using estatesales.net. I think they have an app. It's one of those apps that still has a .net on the back of it.
Nice.
You'll love to see it. But it's a good app and shows you every week estate sales going on in your area. And so, originally, for the most part, I'm looking for like music equipment, recording equipment, stuff like that. Just anything that normally is stupid expensive. Going for cheap in an auction format. It's getting me back on my eBay, which I loved back in the day. So I lost a handful of items, but there was one item that I won. And I was like, all right, baby. And that is a soundbar / subwoofer for my TV. My TV... I love my TV. Is TV's an episode? But I'm like,
sure.
I'm so disenfranchised by most current TVs. I think the modern version of like ultra high def looks like hot garbage. It makes movies look terrible. It makes movies look like, oh, it's like they're in the room with you. I'm like, yeah, that's not what movies are. That's not what I fucking want to see.
Yeah, I mean, especially like the motion blur stuff.
Terrible.
Looks awful. And doesn't look like they're in the room with you as much as it just looks like a PS3 graphics.
Yeah.
Like it looks off.
It looks like behind the scenes footage.
Yeah.
Anyways, enough about that. I say that to say that I have I specifically bought a TV, and this is at this point like 10 years ago. 60-inch Samsung TV, doesn't have any of that stuff. Regular high def, flat screen, good quality. I think the picture's beautiful for what I need from it. It's not a smart TV, because I also feel like those fucking slow your TV down, and my PlayStation's faster to stream off of. So anyways, the problem with it, for whatever reason, it's just not very loud. It's a very quiet TV. If Jocelyn and I are watching something in this house, the volume is at 90 or 100, which is as loud as it goes.
That's too loud.
And that is like, okay, now we can hear it normally. So I'm like, yeah, soundbar, perfect. Been meaning to get one for a while. And this one was going for $20 and had a subwoofer with it, which I'm like, we don't need to blast that bass out that hard. But, you're watching a movie. It's kind of nice to have that extra little rumble in your tumble. So I think the sale closed at like $22, which I won.
Nice.
And it said, initially I was looking at estate sales in the area. This was an estate sale in Georgia. But it said shipping is an option. And they were very clear, if you read through it, which I did, that there's going to just be like a $50 charge, like a handling fee. So there's going to be that in the first place, and then you have to pay shipping. And I'm like, all right, it'll be kind of expensive shipping, but it's going to be cheaper than buying a new sound bar.
What is the average price of a current sound bar? Do you know?
I'd say
Have you looked
average
at them?
$200.
Okay.
Cheap on the cheap end, 120. If you want like a good soundbar, yeah, like $1,000. But who has money? Who has money right now? Not I. So I was like, yeah, all right, 20 plus 50. We're at like $72. Throw shipping on top of that. I think we can keep this around like $100 or something. Awesome. I will still take that soundbar. And it's a Samsung. I looked it up, and it's like, yeah, quality soundbar. I'm like, oh, fucking awesome. I've made this story too long. Basically, they had not sent the shipping. It was supposed to come from a different company, the bill. So I paid the 25 or whatever, $22, and was supposed to wait to be invoiced for by the shipping company. And it never came. So I emailed them. This is weeks later. I'm like, yeah, just check again. They sent this fucking invoice. They're like, listen, because this item is heavy and because this item is shaped weird, it's going to have some real specific shipping charges on it. Not including the $50 you're going to pay. The shipping, I believe, I could look it up and get an exact number. I believe the shipping was $180.
Hell yeah.
So now you start going back and looking, and I'm like, okay, this isn't worth that at all. I mean, this is a 15-year-old soundbar at this point. For that price, I can get a brand new one. I can't do this. So in the fine print, it's, they've got to factor this in when they're doing auctions and when they're shipping, that once you've paid for the item, that money is gone. If you get a shipping quote and you're not happy with it and you don't want it and you don't respond in 10 days, the item just goes away. It'll go to someone else. You can't get your money back, but you're not forced to pay that shipping charge. So I'm at this point like, absolutely fucking not. I'm not paying. Right. I can't do that math right now. Like $250 for a 15-year-old soundbar that at the time was maybe $200. So I just ignore it. I just go, and maybe that's bad. Maybe that's on me. I should have just manned up, as they say, and emailed back and said, no, thank you. No longer interested. But my pride was too big. So nearing the 10-day mark, let's say 8 or 9 days, I get an email from the shipping company. And they're like, hi, Evan. We're just checking back in to see if you still wanted to ship out the soundbar and subwoofer. We've seen that you've checked the quote 4 different times. I was like,
hoping it'd be different each time.
Oh, this is so much worse than if I had just emailed and said, sorry, nah, not interested. It would have been so simple. But now
I love that
it's
they
like,
called you out.
They called my ass out.
I love that.
Know that. I didn't know they could see how many times I looked at it.
Awesome.
At which, really, I just clicked it at one time. It was just then there was a triple take.
Right. Yeah, it wasn't how many times you clicked on it, it's how many times your eyes looked at the quote.
Yeah, bugged out of my head.
Yeah.
Each counts as a view. So that was thoroughly fucking embarrassing, and then I had to respond and essentially just be like, clearly, yeah, I'm not interested, and this is no longer worth buying. That is a little out of my price range right now. And then they were very nice about it. But I'm like, man, and I'm sure you gotta be when you're related to estate sale
Sure.
auction shipping. You probably get a lot of douchebags and a lot of people trying to haggle with you and
Yeah, oh
shit.
yeah.
So you got to be confrontational a little bit. But I was like, oh shit, I'm in trouble. I'm sorry, that's such a long story. But I got excited by it, and I'm excited to talk about more estate sales after I find out how you're doing.
I'm doing all right.
Thank
You
God.
mentioned last week that I had flown back for Thanksgiving and I was next to somebody, a strange couple on the plane. This is
You could say
a
that.
story from the same day, and there's going to be another story later in the episode from the same day as well.
Oh boy.
But I feel like I'm a relatively like experienced, I guess, traveler.
Yeah, for
I know
sure.
what to do when I go through the TSA line.
Yeah.
I assume that people who travel during the holidays maybe are not as maybe this is the only time of the year they travel. I don't
Yeah.
know. But I know like which clothes I'd rather be wearing in the TSA line, which shoes I
Totally.
should be wearing, all that stuff I think about ahead of time. The
Laceless
person in
slip
front of
offs.
me in the TSA line, um, I guess didn't know they needed to take off their shoes, even though that's been common practice for the last 20 plus years.
Yeah.
But you know, the officer asks them to take off their shoes. And they don't have just regular shoes on, Evan. They have like I don't know, mid shin height boots
Yes.
that are
Laced all the
laced
way up.
all the way up.
Uh,
And so this isn't, you know, a story that happened to me, but it was like I don't know why you wouldn't think to have not worn these boots through the TSA because now you have to hold up the entire line while everybody
yeah.
watches you unlace your whole boots all the way from the shin all the way down. Oh, hurry, hurry, hurry. Go, no, 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 no.
And now
Oh,
you're
now I can get my foot out.
stressed and your
And now I
fingers
gotta do
aren't
the other
working. You're trying to move faster than you can.
Yeah, I don't know. I am very particular about like just wear shoes that are easy to get on and off. You know, don't wear like a jacket that you're gonna have to take off or a belt that you're gonna have to take off. No, no, no. Come in ready to be scanned
Yeah.
and get the hell out of there.
Scan me, baby.
Scan me, TSA daddy. Department of Homeland Security, more like daddies of Homeland Security.
Before we get into this, I do need to mention I flew recently for a work thing, and going through TSA, there was a TSA agent. You know, like there's the desks up front. They're checking everyone's passports and IDs and stuff.
Yeah.
Then there's security itself. Everyone taking their shoes off and going through and getting scanned. But then there's one or two agents usually to the side, ready if there's something in a backpack or whatever they've got to check through. There's the extra people. They're ready to go if they're needed, observing. And this one woman was at her job, and I could hear her from the back of security. And I'm like, this has to be a passenger or something. No, this is an employee. Over and over again, singing John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt.
Huh.
Over and over again.
His name is my name too.
I know, it's the weirdest coincidence. We were all talking about it. You too? That's my name. The checking everyone's passports. The TSA agents are like, this can't be. But I'm just like, I don't know. Either everyone loves this person, or this is the most excruciating coworker to be on a shift with.
Yeah,
But she never stopped the whole time I went through security. Baffling.
I had a situation at Target the other day, and we'll talk about the main topic here in a minute, but
Naturally.
I was at Target and there was just some
Say there was
customer
like an
singing
elderly
Christmas
person near you.
carols like as they wandered around the store, but
Can't do
not the
this.
same songs that are playing over the speaker. Just their own a cappella Christmas songs that they don't really know all the words to.
Sure.
Very bizarre.
I love that. When I worked at Walgreens, that was always a joke between my friend Anthony and I. There would be someone in another aisle, just a customer singing their heart out, and we'd be like facing in a different aisle and just go like, "That voice! I must have that voice!" It just made me smile. Like, what are you people doing?
Yeah.
Stop singing full volume in public. But you know, sometimes.
Here it comes, everybody. He's bracing for segue.
Ladies and gentlemen, prepare for a bumpy segue. I've got some turbulence coming. You know, you know who gets a lot of, whether they want it or not, a lot of people coming through and singing carols to them. People in old folks' homes.
Oh, yeah. And who's in those old folks' homes? Old folks. All right, we did it, everybody. Let's talk about the elderly.
That was such a better segue than I was expecting I was about to make. That
Yeah,
I found the runway.
Yeah, that was the miracle on the Hudson right there. No casualties.
I've already forgotten what I was about to say, but it was bad. All right. You brought this topic up.
Yeah. You mentioned working at Walgreens, and I think
That's
that
true. You're
the elderly, like the reason I wanted to bring it up, I think has a lot to do with customer service.
That's fair. That's where they shine best.
Interacting with the elderly. I think at the time there was maybe also some political reasoning to talking about the elderly as there was a point where the two oldest candidates in history were vying for the presidency.
Yeah.
But I do think that customer service especially was a big one. I don't know what it is about the elderly needing to share their life story with customer service workers. They're, or not even necessarily like with the workers, but just you hear when you're working a position that is customer facing, man, it feels like you hear a lot from older customers.
Oh yeah.
Whether you're eavesdropping or whether you're being told it. There was one several months ago, so I don't know admittedly how well I remember this exact story. Let me see if I can pull up my notes without my phone causing an issue.
Oh, go luck.
I know. But it was basically like they were complaining that not even complaining, they were just recounting why they needed to use a wheelchair, basically. Like a wheelchair that that my current job provided, not one that she had already.
Yeah.
Where she was just like in the like soft, like, because there are really like two types of elderly people, and it's the cranky old fuckers and the like sweet, the sweet and soft.
Yeah.
And this
Sweet
lady
and
was in the latter category, and was just kind of like, oh yeah, I woke up and there was just I was on the ground in a pool of blood, and there was blood on me, and
Oh
blood on the
no!
walls, and blood on the bed sheets. Like, oh my god.
What
And,
happened?
she just like fallen down, I guess. And but like I don't know how there was so much blood all over the place, but it was just like it was such a like she treated it like such an innocent non sequitur
Yeah.
when in reality it's like such a horrifying story. That the juxtaposition I found very funny. But I don't know what it is about just like trauma dumping, for lack of
Yeah.
a better word. um
Coming from a sweet old lady.
yeah, onto a stranger. Like,
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know if you've had similar experiences.
for sure.
Yeah.
But my customer service, like most of my, obviously, I worked a check stand there, so older people would come through. But more of it was working in the photo department, which 9 times out of 10 was like heartwarming.
Sure.
Because it's like, yeah, I mean, you're definitely getting those stories, but it's because they're printing off photos of their deceased lover or something.
Yeah.
So it's going to take a while to print, and they got a story to tell. And it was like, oh, wait, pull up a seat, Gladys. Let's go. um, but that did make me, and I'll have to think. I'm sure I do have some specific customer service related stuff, but you mentioning that there generally can be two kinds that you run into, and I'm sure that's not really the case. But if I'm looking at me, which right now I am,
It's true.
I do this like a Zoom. I don't know about you, but half the time I'm looking at myself when we're
Yeah.
recording. Anyways, um, if I'm looking at myself, where I'm at right now, and how I feel and interact towards people younger than me, I'm like, baby, I'm on the track to be that cranky ass motherfucker that nobody wants to be around.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I don't know if there's a way to switch that train track to become a sweet old man, because something clearly happens where it switches from just like, oh yeah, nah, young people these days, to just like, I'm gonna go to their workplace and yell at them, and that's gonna make
Yeah.
me feel better.
Yeah, there is definitely that also. I yeah. Do you what what is it about the youth that really grinds your gears, Evan?
I don't even know, and that's the problem. I don't know.
Is
And
this I know we talked about this before we started recording, so if you don't want to do this, that's fine. But
Okay.
is this before did you feel this way even before the United Healthcare CEO shooting?
I have felt this way since before that. That's raised a lot more questions for me, but it does just general. It's like it's the oldest, elderliest answer I can give. I don't understand them.
Yeah.
It's a bad feeling. So at this point in my life, I try to be just like chill, and I think for the most part I am chill. I'm not going out of my way and being a lot. Um,
When you say you don't understand them, just to be clear, are you talking about like strictly their new vocabulary, or are you talking about like what they enjoy, or like behavioral things instead of purely on a comprehension level?
I don't understand their music. I don't understand their lingo.
You don't understand that me espresso?
No, I don't understand what they're talking about half the time. Uh, I don't know. Youth has passed me by. I don't understand why the boys either want broccoli hair or a middle part.
Yeah.
Riddle me that.
Well, I
I
think you
don't
and I
like
have a
it.
lot of issues understanding hair.
I don't understand.
I don't get it.
I don't get it. But it's
Hair
wild.
go down here. Hair no go up
I
here.
mean, come on. Um, yeah, I don't know. It feels like, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you just don't see it as much when you're living through it. But like, speaking of the elderly, my lovely grandfather, my last living grandfather, I look at pictures of him when he was a kid, and he had a full on like army crew cut
Yeah.
as a kid. And it's like, oh yeah, that seems to have been what every boy had. And now there is such a trend with young men and their hair. And I'm like, was there a hair trend when I was a kid? It felt like bowl cuts. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think bowl cuts as like small children, and then there was a brief, like, for me at least, I think that it was like, short but spiked with like
Oh, sure.
product, and
Yes.
then I think after that it was long and shaggy. Um, I think those were the trends that I remember, and then I don't know what it would have been. I don't know if anybody gave a shit after that. Probably the shaggier hair was high school, I think. So I don't know if past that there were major hair trends. I know people do the fade now, but or they'll get the like just the one line of like completely shaved
Yeah.
head
Mostly
among the
I've
rest
seen
of
it
their hair.
coming through an eyebrow.
Yeah, through the
Very
eyebrow as
common.
well.
Uh, Anyways, this is all to say I'm afraid of what I'll be like when I become elderly, which I think we did an
Yeah,
episode about aging and I talked about
we
this.
did.
But still on the mind.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I think I also like I think that a lot of the um sentiments that younger people have, I still share. The
Hmm.
way that some
Yeah.
of it is expressed, not so much.
Baffling.
There is truly like, and some of this is like more than just younger people, but there are some posts or
Hmm.
comments or things that I'll read on social media and I just straight up cannot decipher it. Like a
Yeah.
Da Vinci Code, like a zodiac cryptogram. I'm like trying to understand what
And
it
it's
says
been
and I
liked and
don't get it.
shared billions of times.
Yeah.
People love this. I'm like,
Yes.
what?
So I do kind of feel I do feel especially in the last year or so like like the race to becoming elderly. I feel like I've really picked up steam in the
Yeah.
last year or so.
Check it, check it, check it, check it.
Yeah.
But I do think going back to the kind of customer service thing and where people who get older can become very cranky. Like I feel like I try to, at the very least. I try to have a lot of patience for the elderly, and that can be hard sometimes.
You did
But
famously repeatedly say that you want to protect them a couple
that's
episodes
right.
ago.
That's right. Famous. I loved the fame. I try to protect them. I'm like, I don't know. There's a respect there. You've lived through a lot. But as you get older yourself, it all does sort of start to make sense where you realize when you're a kid, however your grandparents were to you, and for the most part mine were very sweet, that can be kind of how you see older people. Like, oh yeah, they're their own thing. They're the elderly. And generally, they're sweet. But as you get older, you realize, like, oh no, those were all young people. And some of
Right.
those young people sucked. And they were assholes and dicks or whatever other words you can come up with. Not a, I don't know. I feel like when you're younger, or at least me, I felt like, oh, there's a base level of, like, most elderly people are just very good, sweet people. And the older you get, you realize, like, no, some people are dicks when they're younger, and then they grow into bigger dicks.
Yeah, there is.
And not in a good way.
It is a good reminder, I guess, that
They're human.
people can be bad their entire lives.
That's basically what I'm saying. People can. Not everybody changes. Not everyone turns into an elderly person and goes, like, oh, well, I have regrets. Maybe it's time to be nice. Hand over the chocolate factory.
Right.
Didn't know this was Charlie, did you? He'd be old now. Like Grandpa Joe.
Yeah.
Living a much different life than Grandpa Joe did.
Well, for
Running
sure.
that
I not
chocolate
living,
factory.
head to foot in the beds with
Head to foot to foot to head.
yeah.
Yeah. Good for Charlie. Yeah. Do you think, and maybe this, I mean, there was a book, I know, about Charlie running that chocolate factory, I believe. Maybe I'm wrong. I know there was another.
No, I think there is another
Roald Dahl
book.
book.
Yeah.
That takes place after.
Something
Charlie
with the glass elevator, I think.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
can't remember the name of the
Or maybe
book.
that's before. I don't know. I've lost track. But
There is
anyways.
another Wonka verse.
Which is shocking that has never been, like, explored. Like, no, we just want to keep remaking
Yeah.
Willy Wonka, the movie.
Evan, I think this has a lot to do with the way the film industry works. We know you liked this one.
True.
So we're just going to keep doing it.
Go back, Jack, and do it again. But do you think, after all he'd been through, let's strictly right now talk about the idealized 70s version of Charlie.
Sure.
Saw all of his friends die in a chocolate factory.
I don't know that they were friends. They had just met that day. And most of those kids seemed awful.
I think him and Mike TV really hit it off. How many other kids can you name? Veruca Salt,
Violet Beauregard, Augustus Gloop, Mike
Augustus
TV,
Gloop for sure.
and Charlie Bucket.
Charlie Bucket, good work. I would not have
Why
remembered.
couldn't this be on the Quizzle?
I don't know. Maybe it is. I would not have remembered Beauregard. You got me there.
Yeah.
Anyways,
that's the tough one.
After being fucking jerked around like he was by the insane man that is Willy Wonka, does Charlie in his old age do the same thing to some kids? Or does he just go like, no, yeah, I've got like a grandson, I'm going to give the factory to him?
Oh, well, you know what? That's an interesting point, because I don't
Thank
think
you.
Willy Wonka had a Nepo baby that he could
No.
give the factory to.
No.
Yeah, it is. You know what? I think that Charlie absolutely puts kids through the same ringer.
He's one
Because
of
I
those
think-
elderly people. I
Yeah,
went through it, so you have to too.
Exactly.
Or it's not valid.
Yeah, exactly. It's like the student loans issue. Like, well, I paid student loans, so everyone has to.
Call me crazy. That sounds like a great fucking movie. It's a movie about an old Charlie reckoning with everything that happened to him as a kid. He's doing it again to other kids, and by the end of the movie, he realizes, like, oh, that was fucked up. I think I have trauma. I should talk to a therapist. This could be a good movie.
Good day, sir.
That's all.
Yes.
Good
Yeah,
day.
do you think Charlie Bucket would become like... Because he would probably want to outdo Willy Wonka. You can't like just run
yeah.
people through the same the same scenarios. Do you think he becomes like a Jigsaw figure?
I was gonna say, is he like running people through like AI VR simulated worlds like Tron?
Yeah.
I don't know. There's just a lot of places this could go. I do like the horror movie angle.
He also would have to reckon with the Oompa Loompa labor force that he has working in there.
Saw is like, it's the same concept as Willy Wonka. Are we there?
I don't know
All
if
of
I'm
those
fully
kids,
ready to commit to this.
all
this take.
of those kids were specifically put into a situation where their
Yeah.
great flaw was put to a test, and they failed.
True.
That's what Jigsaw's up to.
That's true, but
Is Jigsaw Willy Wonka?
I guess, like, you know, the victims in Saw, and I haven't seen most of the Saw movies, so
I've seen
could be
4 of them. I think.
misinformed here, but
All right, I'll set you straight.
I believe he like picks them out, you know,
Yes.
or seeks them out, whereas in the factory they were randomly selected when they got the golden ticket.
Yeah,
and
but
they
how
just
random
happened
was
to
it really?
have well, that's a good question. I mean, obviously Veruca Salt her like rich
It's true.
parents,
She forced it.
she forced her hand, and Augustus Gloop obviously was having no shortage of chocolate.
No.
But the other 3, I don't know how
Listen,
random they may or may
the
not have
Oompa
been.
Loompas, they were below these kids' eye level. So they're just walking around. The kid picks out a chocolate bar, and they're coming out, and they're just swapping it. Going here. And you don't notice,
Interesting.
because they never look down.
Interesting.
Yeah. Also, does he, in his older years, go by Chuck Bucket?
Oh, yeah, I think he does.
Yeah.
There
Chuck
are some
Bucket's Chocolate Factory.
there are some this is something I never would have thought to talk about, obviously, but
What do you mean?
like the way like certain older people have, you know, their names that may or may not have been either slang jokes that they are now, or character names in things that came out after they were born. I had a customer the other day whose name was legally Jack Frost.
Fuck yeah.
Like,
that rules.
I mean, I would assume that the idea of Jack Frost already
maybe
existed, but
that's one of those loosey-goosey Christmas ideas that I'm like, I'm not actually sure what the origin of Jack Frost himself is. It seems old, but maybe it's not.
Yeah, I mean, at least as old as that Nat King Cole song.
Okay.
Where he's nipping at your nose.
Unforgettable.
Yeah, that one.
That's Jack Frost. And then Jack Frost sings.
Is for the man nipping at your nose.
Yeah, no. We're doing great. This is very on topic.
Yeah. Or like people named Richard Johnson that go by Dick Johnson. And it's like, what are you doing? Those are 2 phallic names.
I've mentioned it before. I had a substitute teacher named Mrs. Seaman, and she drooled Jolly Rancher drool on my hand while I was working on a project. And it was very upsetting.
Yeah.
And her son's name was Richard.
Mm.
And I'm like, how far? I get that not everyone's mind is in the gutter. But your last name is Seaman.
Yeah.
You sure about this? You sure?
You sure about that?
There weren't just like every single person in their lives going like, you can't name the kid Richard.
Yeah.
Don't name the kid Dick Seaman.
The hospital staff was like, are you sure?
You sure about this?
Legally, we can't stop you, but are you
Okay,
sure?
if you say so. Um, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like there are, or rather, there were more. There were more of that with the elderly, with names, and I like that. I like names that have nicknames, and maybe that's just because I'm one kind of without. The
Sure.
closest that comes up is people call me Ev,
Yeah.
or
Or they call you Kevin.
or they call me Kevin. Uh, but
You can call me Kevin. It's long for Evan.
this is good. This is good.
It's not. Yeah, this isn't my nickname. This is my Nicholas name. A name that's longer.
I like that. Christofferson.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, like I think we talked about, maybe we did an episode about nicknames before, how your name can be broken into Chris or Topher or
Yes.
Christopher or
Christ.
whatever. Christ. Christ himself. That'd be a big swing, and I
It
would
would be a big swing. And I don't
Uh,
think that the elderly would appreciate it.
no, but for the most part, I feel like, yeah, that's less of a thing now. Although, what is a thing now? So I guess maybe it's a thing all over again. Is these fucking Zoomers out here naming their kids old people names? They're bringing them back. Are you familiar with this?
No.
I mentioned Gladys. Like, someone will name their kid Gladys or Ethel, or I can't think of, I don't know, Fred. Just shit that it's like, yeah, us millennials and Gen Xers, we stopped naming our kids Fred.
Yeah.
There weren't supposed to be new Freds out there. That's left in the Stone Ages, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Wilma,
I yabba
etc.
dabba do know what you mean.
Pew. There he goes.
There he goes. I have a question for you, Evan, that I think is important to hammer out here.
Okay.
What
Hammer time.
age do you consider someone to be elderly?
This is a hard thing to reckon with, because I'm now in this situation. There's one of my favorite ancient. This, I think, is from when he was on Last Comic Standing. But one of my favorite old Todd Glass jokes is talking about how when he was a kid, he's like, I'm 50 years old. When I was a kid, my impression of a 50-year-old was, I'm 50. It's like, that is kind of how you start.
Yeah.
And now, guess what? I'm knocking on 40.
Hey.
And I have friends, a friend of mine's knocking on 50. Like, I might have actually, I have to check in with some of these people. I think some of my friends are 50 now. And it's like, well, they're certainly not elderly. But my parents are now at that point where it's like, they're talking to me about it and going like, at what point do we cross that line? And I'm like, I still don't at all think of you in that way. And I put them both mid to late 60s. There's two of them. I don't know why I'd say I'd put them both.
Yeah, if I had to categorize them both.
One is in their mid 60s, one is in their late 60s. That's how I'd categorize it. And we're leaving it at that.
Okay.
But it's like, at a certain point, late 60s, it's like, maybe it's that. Maybe it's 70. Maybe 70 is just now for me the point where I go like, well, shit, I guess you're old.
I was also going to say 70, but I think that there are definitely exceptions on both sides. You know, there can be somebody 62 and you can be like, hey, you're old as shit. I don't know what happened, but you are in that elderly group. And at the same time, you can have somebody 75 and be like, you know what? You're old, but you're not. I wouldn't call you the elderly.
No. Like, how old's Steve Martin now?
Great question. What's your guess?
70.
Okay. I'm going to say that Steve Martin is 67.
Wow. Bold.
I searched the wrong name. Let me try again. I searched Steve Madden because that's what came up first, and I just assumed it would be
I mean, I'm
someone
also
that we
now
wanted to talk about.
curious. I'm curious. How old is Steve Madden? And then I want to know how old Benji Madden is.
Evan, would you
Yes.
believe that Steve Martin is not 67 and he's not whatever age you guessed?
Wow.
You said 70, right?
I did.
He's 79.
This is what I'm talking about. That is the definition of a man who's kept busy and like loves what he does.
Yeah.
He looks fucking great. He's like, seems sharp as a tack.
Right.
He's almost 80 years old. And that, you know, a lot of people are saying that, like, people, again, Gen X and below, it's like we're aging better than our parents and grandparents. No offense. But just something about society. We live in a society and we're taking care of our skin.
Yeah.
I
You should make that
moisturize.
Joker meme, by the way.
We live in a society
and we're taking care of our skin. That's a t-shirt. Add it to the list of shirts we've never made.
Joaquin Phoenix putting the paint on his face, but it was a bottle of moisturizer.
This is good.
This
We
is
would
good.
sell a lot of shirts.
Yeah. Hey, dollar signs in my eyes. Can you believe it? Anyways,
I mentioned.
Oh no!
Okay. Sorry.
I mean,
Go ahead, Evan.
I wanted to ask, like, was yours a better segue? But I was going to talk about estate sales again.
I was going to go back to the TSA, so we were both
All right.
making our way back to the beginning of the episode.
Just like the elderly, we're looking back.
We're telling the same stories over and over again.
And
we're going back to things that you thought we were done talking about a while ago.
Oh, no. Back in my day, I used to go to a lot of estate sales. I talked to you off mic, near mic, but the mic was not recording, about having gone to a handful of these. In person, Jocelyn and I have now, I think, gone to 3 estate sales. Most of what I've been doing has been online auctions. But there is something, it's like you're in that mode of like, I'm doing a lot of buying tools and music equipment. And these are both things you can often find a lot of at estate sales. And so it's like, yeah, hey, I'm in the mode, I'm in Black Friday mode. I'm getting the deal of a lifetime. Here I go, here I go, here I go. And then you get to this house and it immediately dawns on you, oh, right, either someone has been put in a home or in a grave.
Right.
And now I'm somberly walking around their house, looking at everything they ever owned, including one online auction, which was for, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the actor Bill Cobbs.
Yes.
He passed away recently. He had an estate sale, and I got to look. I didn't go to his house. I could have. And I looked through all the pictures of his house, and I'm like, well, that's how Bill Cobbs lived. Weird. It's a weird thought.
Did you get anything from his estate sale?
Bill Cobbs? No.
Yeah.
He had some cool shit. I was trying to find. I bought a tripod, like an old photo tripod, from what I could only describe as an old insane racist. And now I'm kind of worried, like, is this cursed?
Yeah.
Did I buy a cursed tripod? But it was $6. It's nice, all metal, fold out legs, really, really good shit. Good photo tripod. I'm a video person, so all my tripods are for video, and they're heavy and bulky, and sometimes you just want a pair of sticks.
Yeah.
But yeah, we were walking around this guy's place, and I'm being like all somber and whatever. And then you get upstairs and find the bookshelves. This man and his wife, who was a church organist, from what we could tell, owned hundreds of books on Donald Trump. Now, if that's your thing, sure, that's okay. But as a political figure, Donald Trump has only been in our sphere for what, 10 years maybe collectively, with the
It's been about 10.
How do you own that many books about it? These are all books written about like the stolen election and everything. It was shocking. Like, I don't know. And so I stopped feeling bad, but then started feeling weird buying their stuff. I don't know. I've found overall estate sales to be a really weird thing. Because people do go in there and they're fighting over people's shit. But I'm like, I want to know more about the person. Who is this?
Yeah, that's
Where'd they go? Are they dead? You can't really, because they're normally being put on by either relatives, which you don't want to ask them, or a company that's putting the estate sale on for them, so the family doesn't have to worry about it or think about anything. And they're not going to tell you. I just want to know, is this person dead? Can I go visit them? I don't know. I have questions.
Show off your tripod.
Like, look what I got.
You. Yeah, I mean, you mentioned all those books, and I do think that there's also something interesting about how susceptible older people are to scams and misinformation and fear mongering. Which, like, I guess I don't have that much to say about it, but it is interesting. Like, you spend so much time in your youth being like, older people are smart because they've lived so much more life, and then get to a certain point where, like, they just find some clearly fake news article conspiracy that they believe wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
And you're like, no, the onion is not real. Or, you know.
Even if they did buy InfoWars.
Yeah.
That also wasn't real.
There's no student in a school identifying as a cat who's pooping in a litter box in the middle of the classroom. Like,
no,
these things are not happening.
That was just that guy on the Zoom call. Was he a lawyer or the lawyer. Guy? Yeah. I'm not a cat. My favorite, maybe the best thing to come out of the pandemic is that man's sad little cat eyes saying, "I'm not a cat."
Yeah.
I loved it.
Going back, you know, for an episode where we had nothing really written, we've got a lot to talk about.
We went crazy with this, mostly about Willy Wonka.
That's true. Going back to the TSA line, another thing that I think is very well known is, like, you got to empty your pockets.
Yes.
The couple that was in front of the guy with the laced shoes was an older couple, and they put all their stuff in the bins, and then they're getting ready to go to the scanner, and the TSA is like, wait, before you go, are your pockets empty? And I think the wife, her pockets were empty, but the husband is just like a magic trick, is just like pulling out coins, tissues, keys, pens, like all sorts of stuff, and he's like, just this. The TSA gets like, put that in the bin.
Yeah, don't give it to
me. Yeah, it's just like a very strange. There are certain places like the airport TSA, sometimes the grocery store as well, where you just like, you don't want to be behind people of a certain age in line, because it's gonna take a lot longer than expected. You
don't want to be behind Ray Romano and Scott Bakula.
Oh yeah, Andre Brower,
Andre Brower,
Ray
Ray
Romano,
Romano.
and I
Not
think I
Bayo.
don't. Yeah,
Scott
yeah,
Baio?
maybe. I don't know.
Ah,
I don't know who the third one is,
well,
but Andre
we're about to
Brower and
learn.
Ray Romano for sure.
That is Men of a Certain Age.
Yeah, that was a deep cut, Evan.
Thank you. It was Scott Bakula.
Nice.
Right. I rule. This is me when I'm older. And there'll just be kids talking about like some game I don't understand. And I'll just be like,
Do you remember
remember Men of a
the
Certain
short-lived
Age?
TNT dramedies, Men of a Certain Age, starring Ray Romano, Scott Bakula, and Andre Brower?
Those were the days. Now I'm a man of a certain age.
I remember watching an episode of Men of a Certain Age when I was like, I don't know, 15, and I watched it by myself because I was like, I love the old reruns of Everybody Loves Raymond, so certainly I'll like this show too.
Absolutely.
And then I was like, I don't understand anything they're talking about.
I never watched an episode of it, but I remember thinking, I bet that's a nice show. Maybe I'll watch it. Still haven't seen Dune 2, but it's about time to watch season 1 and only season 1 of Men of a Certain Age.
There's not, this kind of goes back to the misinformation thing, but this is a very old story that I was going to eventually use as a How You Doing, but it makes more sense to use
elderly
here.
Story.
I do. This is one of my bosses is like pretty much right at retirement age, but it definitely embodies that grumpy old man vibe. His email signature has a photoshopped photo of Carl Fredricksen, the old man from Up, his face on the Hulk's body. And that's kind of the best way to describe him. So it's great that he uses that email photo of a grumpy man with a lot of rage. But anyway, he's very susceptible to a lot of especially politicized conspiracy theories, fear-mongering, misinformation. He definitely thought that during COVID, Gavin Newsom, governor of California, was trying to outlaw people singing Christmas carols or holding hands in prayer at Thanksgiving or something like that. Right. It's like, this is a graphic that's like a blurry graphic with Comic Sans font of the things he's trying allegedly to ban. I think this is fake. Likely. But I remember one of my coworkers was talking about going to Las Vegas to go to EDC. The like electronic
every
dance.
Damn casino.
That's right. Damn, they should call like that should be what they call it. But no, the like electronic dance music festival thing.
I've been here when this was happening, and it's so outside of my world. I didn't know it was happening. It was so fucking. I'm always baffled when you are in a place. It was the same at in Seattle with SakuraCon, which is like an anime convention. It's just like, this is not a thing on my radar, and suddenly you're just like surrounded by people that like, no, this is my whole thing.
Yeah,
it's alarming.
It's basically a giant weekend long rave in the desert, essentially.
Let's go.
But he saw photos of it after, the person was talking about it. He saw photos and he was very confused, very perplexed, and convinced that it was, and I wish that I had taken more notes because this is like a long time ago that I wrote this down. But basically convinced that it was like a Bill Gates funded event to like test controlling people or something like that. Something truly insane that I just could not believe someone believed.
Baffling.
Yeah.
I hate the government as much as the next guy, but whenever those sorts of conspiracy theories come out, I have to say, like what? To what end? Truly, to what end? So Bill Gates mind controls everybody.
Yeah.
Then what? Like what? That would cost so much fucking money. What is the end goal here? All right, I got them all.
Yep.
And that's all I ever wanted, really.
Yeah, that's
I
it.
built Windows because I wanted everyone. Now I've
Yeah.
got them all. I've brainwashed them to be my friends.
I mean, that definitely sounds like more of a Elon Musk plan. You're all going to be my friends, finally.
He just wanted to be Tom from MySpace.
Yeah.
I want to wrap this up by saying there's a lot of fear mongering out there. The only other thing we ever hear about being mongered is fish. I do love fish, but let's monger something else. Can we monger joy? Can we monger?
Yeah, you want to be a real joy monger?
I want to be a peacemonger. What's the definition of monger? There we go. I'm going to look that up while I'm saying this. Hey, guess what? You're listening to HowDoWeHuman. It's a great podcast. You love it. And you can listen to more of it anywhere you get your podcasts, Spotify, the rest. And you can reach out and touch us on social media. We're on Instagram, we're on YouTube, we're on Facebook, and all of those are under the handle at HowDoWeHuman.
Yeah, we got all those handles.
I left I know we don't do that anymore. I left a spot for it though.
I know.
He was scared.
I was.
I mongered fear.
You mongered fear. You promised me you were going to be a joy and peacemonger, and then you made me scared.
But you can, leave us a comment on a video or something if you liked it, just like user Slurp did when he said,
"Fuck off, Slurp."
When he said, "Not everyone needs a podcast." And I thought real long and hard about some really fun, witty things to respond. And then neither of us said anything. Yeah. So now we're just on this episode because we know you probably listened to the full thing and you're listening to this now. Go fuck yourself. What else? You can send us an email. We're howdowehumanpod@gmail.com. Give us episode ideas. Tell us what you like. Tell us what you don't like if you must. But, leave us ratings, everything, all the good stuff. It's a podcast. You've fucking heard this spiel before. Come on.
What does monger mean?
All right. I said I was going to do both things at the same time. And how did that work out? Monger. It means denoting a dealer or trader in a specified commodity, or, which would be fishmonger, or, I forgot about, cheesemonger. Why just fish and cheese? Can I be a podcast monger? Or a person who promotes a specified activity, situation, or feeling, especially one that is undesirable or discreditable, like warmonger or rumor monger. So there are other mongers.
There are other mongers out there.
But it does say especially. So not exclusively.
Not exclusively.
Joymonger. Hashtag joymonger this holiday season. Yeah. I was missing a word. I ended that sentence without a period. ...
There is also the Black Panther villain Killmonger.
Oh yes, we love Killmonger.
We love Killmonger, don't we, folks? Big guy, strong guy, tears in his eyes.
Big guy, strong guy, tears in his eyes. It's time to go to our quizmonger.
It is, yeah. We're going to be a real quizmonger here for the end of the episode as we bring some trivia questions. As a reminder, Evan, the score is 25 points to 22 points with you in the lead.
Ugh.
Did you feel when we did the first race to 100 points, in
Yes.
which I won, did you feel like Quizzle had conspired against you to give questions that were more in my wheelhouse? Because I'm really feeling like that's what they're doing for you this time.
The funny thing is how often it seems to be the first question for you.
Yeah.
But not only a few weeks. There were a few weeks where it would be like 3 of these 5 questions are right up Chris's alley, and that sucks. But no, it sounds like I've got a lot going my way. Unfortunately, you seem to get most of these right anyways. So,
well, let's see. This first question is, again, I think more catered to you. Question number 1. Who filled in for Ringo on the Beatles' 1964 World Tour? Pete Best, Jimmy Nicol, Andy White, or Tony Sheridan?
This sucks. I do know that this is a thing. The question is, do I know who it was? I have one name in particular sticking out.
Yeah, I have my answer. I've locked it in.
I know for sure. Okay. I just got to go with that first instinct because I know this is a thing in the back of my head. I'm going to say Andy White.
Okay, I'm saying Pete Best.
Okay.
It was Jimmy Nicol, so we were both wrong.
No, that was the only thing I knew is Pete Best was their original drummer. He did not come back.
Yeah, that was the only reason that his name stuck out at me is because I knew he was a drummer for them.
Yeah, I knew they toured with some other drummer that I'm just like, I've never heard this person. I need some other drummer. Doonga doonga doong. All right, well, that was close. I wish that had been more for me. Jimmy Nicol. And that was even the one I was like not thinking. I was thinking him or Tony Sheridan, and now I feel
Jimmy Nicol would have been my last guess also.
100%. It sounds like a fake name.
Yeah.
Hey, go talk to Jimmy Nichols. He'll set you straight. Behind the fishmonger. What is the common name for organisms in the class Asteroidea?
Asteroidea.
What is the common name for organisms in the class Asteroidea? Starfish, sea cucumber, jellyfish, or lobster? This is a confusing question.
It is. I have my answer. It's dumb, but I've locked it in.
I'm assuming that means I have the same answer. It's starfish.
Yeah, we're both going space theme.
Space.
Oh, we're both right. All right, question number 3. Ralph Freeman designed which Australian landmark?
It's pronounced Rafe Fiennes, by the way.
The Conclave, the Deathly Hallows. No. Melbourne Cricket Ground, Sydney Opera House, Sydney Harbour Bridge, or the Parliament House?
Well, the Parliament House, they tore the roof off the sucker. That's a Parliament joke.
Cool.
I think we're both in the same boat of I know one architectural designer named Frank Lloyd Wright, and he has not been mentioned in this question, so I'm fucked.
Yeah, I have my answer, but
I'm just gonna go.
I'm assuming we're gonna have the same answer.
Then it sounds like we're both just gonna go for the Sydney Opera House.
Yep, that's the landmark that is most recognizable to us.
Harbor Bridge was my second.
Mine as well. And it was the Harbor Bridge, so we were both wrong.
I got scared. This is too close. What is the currency of Poland? The euro, the Polish koruna, the Polish mark, or the Polish zloty, or zloty. I don't know how to pronounce that, but I'm assuming something like that. What is the currency of Poland?
I'm between 2, but I have the answer I'm going to go with. I'm really trying to just not overthink questions this time.
Same.
And it hasn't worked out so far. I've gotten one out of the last 3
mixed results. But I'm also going with my first instinct answer. I'm going to say euro.
That's what I'm saying too.
Yeah, we're on shaky ground today.
Oh, it was the Polish zloty.
Man, I got so confused by the euro. I don't know who
Yeah,
uses it and who
it's
doesn't.
too mixed up over there. I thought the whole point of the euro was that they all use it.
Yeah. Ugh.
The last question here. This is for each of us to get more than 1 point this round.
Oh, no. Okay.
Mexico shares its southern border with Guatemala and what other country?
I'm so good at maps.
El Salvador, Nicaragua, Honduras, or Belize?
Well, I know for sure it's one of these 4.
That's a great point. I've
got my answer.
I'm between 2 of them.
I'm going Honduras. If
Okay.
that sways you one way or the other.
I'm going to go Nicaragua.
Okay. Those were my
But
main two.
I'm not super confident in it. But let's see. It was Belize. We both get 1 point this round.
Not your day, says the quiz. Says the quizmonger.
So the score now is 26-23.
This is going to be a long, slow battle.
It sure is.
Brutal. I mean, I think I lost all confidence getting a Beatles question wrong. And I feel like a fool. But listen. The older I get, the more foolish I'm gonna feel every day of my life, and you just gotta get used to that. I'm now that I'm talking, remembering other topics I wanted to talk about today, but sorry, Willy Wonka v. Saw.
Yeah, you think they should face off?
I think they should face off.
Should they face off, or should they have a face off?
They should have a face off. So Willy Wonka. And not, what's his name? Tobin Bell, the puppet.
Yeah. Oh, interesting.
Yeah. That puppet face on Willy Wonka's body. Whew, nightmare fuel, baby.
Yeah. And that's the image we're going to leave you with.
And he can pedal that okay bicycle.
Okay, bicycle.
On out of there. Okay, bicycle.